I'm glad to be home after being denied entry into Uganda this morning. I arrived at Entebbe Airport at 8:50 aboard a Kenya Airways jet. We went through immigration. I was with 3 others from Kenya, including the President of the Law Society of Kenya, Mr. Gishero, our wakili, and the Secretary General of East Africa Law Society, whose president, Ramadan Abubakar, is with me here on my right. And we went through immigration as normal after filling the Ebola forms. I was actually processed, and I went to wait for my colleagues where the luggage is taken. I had only hand luggage. So while waiting for my colleagues, the immigration officer who cleared me came and told me that she has been told she made a mistake, that there was a note regarding me. I suppose that's the red alert. I had been told last week that there's a possibility of a red alert on me in Kampala. This was in Entebbe. This was following the arrest, unlawful arrest, detention, and torture of Ugandan senior lawyer Erias Lukwago, under whose chamber I practice, and one of the senior-most Ugandan lawyers with whom I represent Kizza Besigye and Obed Lutale. When he got arrested and detained unlawfully, we issued statements, and I joined the Uganda Law Society via video link from Nairobi condemning his arrest. Following those statements and a space we held the same evening, Monday last week, I got a tip that I may be having a red alert at Entebbe. So today I arrived in the morning. I was not going as a lawyer, I was going as an observer to see my colleague, Erias Lukwago, because he was appearing at the court in Machindie. So I never got there. My colleagues got there. So I was told I need to see the supervisor. I went to the supervisor, who then said I need to see yet another person inside. Finally, after being taken round offices, I was taken to a man who told me he's the principal immigration officer at the airport. And he told me that I will not be allowed to enter. I told them there is no problem. But by then, 2 of his junior officers had snatched both my phones. I asked them why they were snatching my phones and why they are so rude, because they were snatching by force. They are not even asking, let me have your phone. Very ill behaved. And I told them as much. So the principal immigration officer said that I will not be allowed entry because of security reasons. He didn't state them. And I asked, what about the phones? What law allows you to take my property? If you're not allowing me into the country, bring my phones, let me go with them. They refused. So they wanted to take me to a holding cell. And I told them, because there was a Kenya Airways flight, the one I've come with. My scheduled flight was for the evening at 9. I told them because there's a Kenya Airways at 2, and I'm a frequent flyer, therefore authorized to use the Kenya Airways lounge. I asked them to let me go and stay in the lounge instead of wherever they wanted to take me. I also wanted to be safe, because they'll tell you it's a holding cell, but you don't know where they are taking you. So he called the Kenya Airways manager, a very fine gentleman, who came. He was given my passport, told not to give me, and that is responsible for me. I was taken through the airbound, where transfer passengers are taken to the lounge. I noticed that behind us were 2 airport security officers, immigration officers, a lady and a man. They came and stayed in the lounge, and I stayed there the whole time until the plane arrived. Now, they were telling me to fill a form which looked like it needed details that were on my passport. I told them I'm not going to duplicate information on my passport. They have photocopiers, they can copy that information. We disagreed on it. They told me that people feel. I told them also people get told what offense they have committed and the reasons for being bad. Because I'm a citizen of East Africa. What I realize now is that East Africa has shrunk. East Africa just means your country. Because this is my second deportation. I was barred entry in Tanzania for daring to go and witness the trial of Tundu Lissu. Yet their constitution says a criminal trial is a public thing which anybody can go to. I was in Uganda, licensed to practice in Uganda, special license under the firm of Lukwago and Company, as lead counsel for Dr. Kiza Besigye and Obed Lutale. I've been operating there in that capacity since January 2025. We go to the case, we go for mentions, we go for hearing dates, we make our press conferences. I have not had any problem whatsoever until the arrest of my co-lawyer in the case, Erias Lukwago, the immediate former Lord Mayor of Kampala City and a former member of parliament, a very respected member in the society there. He also is the acting president of the People's Front, which is Besigye's party. This is political persecution of Lukwago, and it is interference with Besigye's defense because the hearing of his case was even supposed to start on the 11th, last week. It only did not start because of certain complications. So when they deny entry to Besigye's lead lawyer and they incarcerate unlawfully his lead lawyer in Uganda, that is a denial of Besigye's right to fair trial. And like I wondered last week, I do not think that in those circumstances Besigye can get a fair trial in the courts of Uganda. I'm also very surprised that a matter that acquired public notoriety, everybody knew, and the CDF, General Muhosi, had tweeted on his official Twitter handle how he is torturing Lukwago. And this was said in court. It is so surprising that the court would go ahead, sanitize the actions of the army, who under Ugandan constitution do not have powers over civilian arrests, and keep Lukwago in custody for a whole week. I do not know whether today he has gotten bail, but it looks like Uganda is back to the days of Idi Amin, the days of arrests, unlawful arrests by the army, where the army takes over from the police, although the constitution of Uganda is very clear that the army is subject to civilian authority. Lukwago was arrested because he intended to serve court summons on General Muhosi. So that is the background of my deportation today. I thank the East African Law Society. I've said the president is here with me, who have already issued a statement condemning my arrest. I thank my friends and party members. I can see one of my deputy party leaders here, Professor Kagwanja. I've seen the Deputy Secretary General and other officials and members right here. And friends, I'm very happy that you've come to receive me. Among those who are receiving me today is Advocate Gloria Kimani, with whom we were similarly deported with from Tanzania. And I can see others there like Lynn, whom we were deported from Tanzania with. So if it's an offense for me to go into countries of East Africa, and I'm holding an East African passport, Is there an East African community, or is it a club of our leaders? Here in Kenya, the Ruto administration deported Brian Kagoro, a renowned human rights lawyer and activist. In Uganda, they deported, in Tanzania they deported us, have deported others. In Kenya we have deported many people, including citizens of South Sudan, some of whom have disappeared permanently on arrival in their countries. We deported Kanu of Nigeria. We have deported Turkish nationals who are refugees here. In all this saga, Kenya emerges as the capital of abductions and deportations. My being denied entry today in Uganda, I believe, was unlawful. The snatching through use of force of my phones, which I know have been interfered with and which I suspect they have mined data unauthorized from my phones. And therefore, when they tried to return them to me on the plane, I refused to touch them. I do not know whether they have harmful chemicals, on them. This is actionable, and I'm definitely going to sue. I will consult with my colleagues and will sue, whether in Uganda, in the African court, because the East African court is no longer moving. All cases filed are stationary.